Hi, everyone. Welcome to Goodbye Bullshit, Hello Happiness, the Young and Empowered edition with Samir, my beautiful co host. Thank you for
How
being
we doing?
here.
No problem, no
And
problem.
today we are going to be talking about um, a topic that I've had experience with through my clients, my son, his friends, and I think it's a big, important topic out there. And the basis of it, I would say, is coming from a place of loving, accepting, acknowledging, and approving of yourself from inside rather than forcing outside to do that for you. And this is coming in the age of where pronouns and I think it's just beyond pronouns is making sure that we everybody feels accepted by the titles that we use for them, by the pronouns we use for them, how we refer to them, how we talk to them, just those communications using a language, words to show that we accept and acknowledge you. And I see that right now. The reason I brought up my son too, I've talked to, I see the communication with him, his friends, and even some of my younger clients that have come to me, like they're in their 18, 19 years old. And a lot of them, um, interesting enough, they have grown up in a way that they're much more accepting of people around them. Like they're much more accepting of color, race, gender, sexual preferences, all that stuff. They're much more accepting. However, they're bothered by, the enforcement of now I have to use a certain term in a language to show my acceptance of you rather than, I love you, I accept you, you can go be whoever you want.
Right.
So that's something I wanted to talk about because for me too, and then with the clients I've seen, is something that's been passed down from previous generations. So it is a generational and societal issue that's been passed down. Unfortunately, all those years and years and years, it goes back a long way of people not being accepted because of their sexual preferences, gender preferences, even race or however they want it to be. It's not. Let's even go beyond that because we have labels for everything. Labels for even how you dress. You dressing goth or you're dressing this way, rather than you can dress however you want, be whoever you want. It doesn't change anything. I love, accept, and approve and acknowledge you, but that I feel like it needs to come from the inside first. And once you come from that place, your outside world starts to shift and change. So that's the topic for the discussion today. We picked a really light one for you guys today. So
Yes.
I'm going to pass it to Samir to let's hear some of his thoughts. He is much younger than me, so he has a different take on this as well. So,
All right. All right. Absolutely. So, Atusa, I definitely agree with you in the sense that this has to begin on the internal end. And it's just one of the things that come up to mind first is knowing yourself. So taking the work to really understand yourself and understand how you operate and navigate through the world and establishing values and thought patterns that you agree with, and also being able to operate in a space of warmth while all of these new notions and rules and constructs are being propagated onto you in this modern world. So I definitely feel like on both ends there should be a place of warmth and acceptance, because we're in an adjustment period right now where this way of life has kind of been newly added into our world, and there's going to be a period where people aren't going to be able to fully adjust and get things right off the bat. So I think a sense of leniency on each end and warmth and patience is required. But I also do think for the youth that is going through this, like the high school kids and people that are emerging into this world right now, is you kind of you have to be confident with your internal state to be able to navigate through the outer world that we're currently living in right now. You have to know what you are about and have a strong sense of, you know, of identity, so that you know who you are on the inside. So whatever is going on the outside, you'll be able to navigate through it smoothly and not take anything personally.
I loved what you said, space of warmth. That's
Hmm.
really important that um, everybody, if we lived in a world that everybody, can you imagine, like we all had that space of warmth, that you just felt like you're in this space of love, that everything you do, it doesn't really matter because you're loved. It doesn't, you can practice and experience and experiment with things and you are still loved and accepted. So I love that word, space of warmth. And what you said actually um, got me to notice something as well. Um, I believe even when I'm talking to the kids, it's funny, if there were no older people in their lives, like if you take like the older generations, teachers, all that stuff out of them. Now I'm talking about the younger kids. This is like, um, right now Ilya's age, he's like 14, 15 or younger, or even a little bit older, like maybe even the 19-year old and below. They are actually, in a lot of ways, with that stuff, they're more accepting. Like they
Hmm.
really don't care if their friends are like, I know Ilya has some friends that, they've changed names, they pronouns, whatever, however you want to say it, but they actually have changed their name as well, and they've changed it back. Like they said, now refer to me as this, or now refer to me as she. And it was for a period of time, and they went back. And to Ilya or his friends, it didn't matter. So it's the
Yeah.
interesting thing to me is that I see him, I see his friends, they're much more accepting of that, but
Hmm.
they're like, it seems like the outside world is enforcing something to them. And I think that comes from the older generation that, no, we must all accept this as well, which is funny. Again, like if you take these adults out of the way and let it be with them, they really don't care. Even the
Yeah.
kids, they
Yeah.
don't care. They're not into those pronouns because to them it's
Right.
like, yeah, I like this. So it's like changing their hoodies. Today I want to
Hmm.
wear, I like wearing black, all black, and tomorrow I'm going to start wearing pink. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Absolutely. And this is all by design too, I believe, because naturally when we're basic, I feel like it's an evolution process. The kids that feel 14 and 15-year-old range right now are very accepting of the changing world. And now you have, our old ideals and how we normally govern things in the world. All right, we're going to make strict rules. This is how it has to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to end up in disaster because you're trying to enforce strict rules and regulations on something that's supposed to just happen and just is. So just kind of like how the world reacted when we had to start new rules with COVID and everything. It was a
Mhm.
disaster because it's something that new that emerged that we don't have a system for, and we're in the midst of creating a system for it. and it's exploding because it's just so new and that hasn't been around for so long, for enough time to kind of have that warmth and acceptance on both ends.
What do you think would have happened if we let it come out naturally? This is me, like in my off in my own world. Do you think it could have been ever, like, if we had not imposed all these rules and let this younger generation that's coming, that's more accepting, what do you think for them? I mean, do you think anything would have been different, or it would have still been the same? They wouldn't have been accepting, or are they more accepting because it's so much out there? I don't know.
It's hard to really determine, but I think that the younger generation would do a good job of kind of allowing it to transpose. There would definitely still be some conflict of interest because there'll still be people who are highly
Mhm.
against how things are going, and there would be bashing and bullying on social media still. But um, I definitely feel like the way things are going right now calls for just a reevaluation on how these are being introduced into the school settings and the work settings. And like I said, just do the work on the individual end to not take anything personal. If you do agree, if you don't agree, you don't have that doesn't necessarily have to determine how you navigate through these settings and these environments where you are sharing space with people who believe different things that you believe in. So, um, I, at the end of the day, like you said, it's such an internal, not a battle, but it's an effort to really gain and fight for that understanding and understanding of who you are before you can navigate freely through the outside world that is rapidly changing. And I don't see it's not going to stop changing.
No, it will not. And the battle is interesting. I don't have uh, younger clients to know this. Again, it's just by communicating with Ilya and his friends. But the clients that I had, that they belong in the LGBT community, they are older, and they did suffer a lot
Hmm.
because of how they grew up in those environments that, as you said, it wasn't a space of warmth, it wasn't a space of love. Had they come out, had they said who they were, what they were, and so, and it is like part of our work is getting to love, accept, approve, and acknowledge yourself. And what I'm seeing with my own clients after they go through that transformation is that at the end of the day, they really don't care about the label anymore. It's
Hmm.
not about call me this, call me that. And for me, that's one of the most important things of doing that internal work, where you go inside and you are loving, accepting, approving, acknowledging yourself from the inside. Your outside world is going to bring you that, whatever you need, whatever is for you, and it's going to bring that change about. And the more people get there, that change comes about faster and more naturally.
Hmm.
And it's not even just the LGBT community, it's also between the genders. I know even male and females, through the generations that has been, um, it's been a big fight, with feminism coming about, with, women's rights, all those things. That, yes, great, great movements. However, it's also brought, and I see that again in my female clients, even some males, that the female clients that have a certain way of thinking or being, and they're again in an age group, they're not like my mother or grandmother ages, but like in my age group, or maybe a little bit younger. that they feel like if they choose something, it's like they're going to take their feminine card away from them. That,
Yeah.
you know, they're going to look at me, I'm weak, or I'm bad, or something like that. So that's why, you know, those external movements, those external rules, those things that happen externally, the laws, um, the things that people have fight for, it's great. It needed to happen. There's no denying it because of where things were, and also it has had an impact on, again, that part of loving and accepting. It's like we moved something in another bucket, or we replaced something with something else, that
Yeah.
now people still have those. So
No,
what's your take on that?
I've, I personally think that we're putting emphasis on the wrong things. So we're putting emphasis on the divisive aspects of these root issues. So we're putting emphasis on being called the right or wrong pronoun, or being a alpha male or a divine feminine,
Mm-hmm.
versus the true work. What we should really be emphasizing is how we can get to the root of our authenticity and expressing our truth without feeling bad for it, right?
Yes.
Without feeling
Yes.
ashamed. So if we did put all the energy into fighting what we decipher what these pronouns are, or what we're being manly or feminine enough into defining, getting to that, closer to that truth of who I am and how can I express my authenticity to the world, because naturally that's, people will gravitate to you and accept you because you are expressing your truth. We would have a completely different outcome. We would be less divisive. There'd be less problems.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be less arguments, and we'd be more cohesive in navigating through the world. So I think that whoever's running this agenda, who's at the head of these councils and these meetings, should try to divert the issues on emphasizing the divisive ideas, and start pouring more energy into, okay, let's get the people to unite and express their truth collectively. If everybody tried to do that, completely different outcome.
So true. Get to a place, you do it inside, the outside's going to change
Outside.
everything in. Let's do it from inside out, not outside in, because the outside
Exactly.
in hasn't been working for us. It hasn't.
No.
It causes something else to break. But if you
Yeah.
do it inside out, then that space of warmth that you were talking about earlier, that's how that space of warmth, that's how that space of loving and accepting is created, not just for yourself, but for everybody. If you do that work internally, naturally that space is created for everybody. And that's the space that gets passed down from the generation to generation, that they don't need to fight anymore. It's
Hmm.
not, we think like, oh, we fought these things so that somebody else can have that. That fighting creates fighting somewhere else. That
Absolutely.
fighting does not remove the internal fight.
Right.
So the best thing is, once the internal fight stops and the love inside happens, and that naturally comes out to create that space, then the generations after don't even need that fight in their life anymore, because that space has been created for everyone. That's my
Right.
utopia.
Yes. Yes. And that's a great
I don't know if
utopia
I'll
indeed.
see, if I see that place, that, hey, you know, because sometimes I even tell Ilya, like, you know, I had a friend I was talking to, and he's European, and when he came here, he was saying, you know, he used to wear like all really loud colors. I don't
Hmm.
even think it was because he lived in Europe. It was just who he was. He loved
Hmm.
loud colors, and he said, you know, everybody made such a big comment about his stuff and him wearing all colors, and they would think he was gay, and it's like, no, I just like color. But it was like, and I think at some point he lived here so long, and he got received those comments so much that he
Hmm.
shifted to wearing like the bland colors now.
It's
So
wild. It's
I
wild.
know. But one of the things I always say to Ilya, like Ilya was wearing something, he's like, oh, they're looking at me. I said, first of all, how do you know they're looking at you and not me? I'm standing here. Maybe they're looking at me. Maybe they're
Right.
saying, oh my God, look at his mom. His mom has such nice curly hair. It's like, why do you always take it on yourself?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, why do you assume if they're looking at you, it's for something negative? They
Right.
can be looking at you and thinking like, wow, I like that. I want to be like that. Or wow, look at that. He's so confident. I hope I'm confident like that he's
Right.
wearing such a thing. So that's another thing I think why that when you have that love and acceptance from the inside and you feel comfortable, then those outside things, the shift comes out. And also those people that are out there, you don't see them as your enemies or as they're judging you, because you don't have
Right.
any more judgments for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And they matter. They matter less. Those
Yes.
outside, uh, you know, feelings. And once, like you said, once you get into that place of that internal acceptance and the knowingness of who you are, and you're proud of it, the outside, you're basically, I like using that analogy that you're your best critic, and
Mhm.
you are your best, either your best advocate or your worst critic. And once once you do that work to get to know who you are, and be proud of who you are, start becoming your best advocate versus your worst critic, and the outside starts to work for you, versus against you. You start looking at things completely different. And and again, if outside is on giving out negative energy, you care less. You could care less. It's not your problem. You could care less.
Have you had any experiences that you can share? Like, I know for me, one of the biggest things I think for me was like my gray hair.
Hmm.
When I stopped coloring my hair, that was a part of me just accepting, first of all, because at one point I'm like, it started out as that I didn't like my black hair long, long time ago,
Hmm.
probably in my early, I don't know, 20s, 30s, whenever it was, that I started coloring because I judged my black color and
Hmm.
wanted a lighter color. And, it had become a habit that I was doing it. And then at some point, I'm like, okay, this is crazy. I'm spending money and effort on something that I did back then that I don't care anymore. And I did it because, and then at some point it turned into, well, like, oh my gray. It was like even a social thing. Your gray hair is coming out. You got to cover it. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're stopping this nonsense. So when I stopped coloring, I know like around me, everybody was saying, oh, why did you stop? Why did you do that? It's going to look so bad. I'm like, it's my hair. I'm happy with it. If it bothers you, don't look at me.
Right.
Close your eyes.
Yeah.
And when it fully had come out, now everybody like gives me compliments on it, which I found funny. Those people, especially that said, oh, don't do it. Now they
Hmm.
like it. And now I see like it became a in thing now for you to have like your gray highlights out. So that's
Yeah.
my experience of something, funny, small, that it's just like once you start, you may have done something for whatever reason, but then now that you're loving and accepting yourself, you can stop and enjoy who you are.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I have an example. Um, Throughout my whole life, I like dancing. I like dancing, having a good time. And there was a point in like high school and going into college where it was the cool thing not to dance. Like, you a dude, you're supposed to go to the party, stand in the corner, just try to pick up the chicks. Don't dance. Dancing is too feminine. And then I actually bought into it. I was like, hey, let me stop dancing, and for a short period of time, but I got to that understanding of like, why am I doing this? Like, I enjoy dancing. Dancing is fun to me. This is who I am. I love, the art of it. Forget about this. And every single place I went to, every party, every gathering, I danced, and I'm known as that guy who dances. And I love it, and people around me have a good time, and that's who I am today, to this day. So that's an example. I feel like on
I
my end.
love that. Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
That's to this day, that's still the kids have that. I'm so
yeah,
glad you brought that up because I remember Ilya's school when like they had a fifth grade party, and even these days when they're getting together, you rarely see the boys dance. They're in the
mhm,
corner, and Ilya loved dancing. And I would say, why? And oh, I'm too embarrassed. They're going to look and they're going to say, none of the other boys are dancing.
yeah,
Only the girls are dancing. I'm not going to go just dance with the girls. And it
yeah,
was so funny to me that, this is something that's still out there right now.
mhm.
That's a
It's
great example. Come on, kids. And I've seen his moves, on his music video. He's got some great moves.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if it's something that brings you joy, do it. Do it unapologetically. Some people, the critics are just mad. A lot of them are upset that they can't do it themselves, and it's part of who you are. Express it. It's that's it.
But I like the other point of what you're making is that critic inside. Everybody has that critic, that judgment voice inside. And once
Hmm.
you let go of that inside of you, you're gonna, again, that thing that we're saying the outside world is gonna start matching, is that when you do it, you're gonna get other people to stop their critical voice, their judgmental
Exactly.
voice about themselves, and they're
Right.
going to join you. So you're actually building up that community for yourself as you're letting go of judgments and you're accepting and letting go of that critical voice. More people around you get attracted to that and they want to be the same way. So they're going to start, hey, let me try this. Let me not judge myself. Even maybe it's like, look how confident he is. He's not even a great dancer. I can dance better than him. Or.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Let me get out there and show him my moves. We'll have a dance off or something.
Yep.
But that's how it
Yep.
starts. It's silly. We laugh about it, but these stories, I like sharing stories for people because I think it shows them that things do change. Things will happen. You just
Right.
have to go inside and do the work.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. It's a long journey sometimes. It's quicker for others sometimes, but it's at the end. It's always worth it, and have fun along the way. Have fun along the way, and bring others with you. Like that point that you brought up is a great point because you're unintentionally helping others by
Mhm.
being yourself, which is a beautiful thing. So a lot of people, have problems with the idea of like, how am I impacting the world? I want to impact the world in a great way. You could start by expressing who you are authentically and sparking the fire in somebody else. And then that in turn sparks the fire in somebody else. And before you know it, you've impacted like hundreds of lives positively, unintentionally. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And I highly recommend it. And everybody should do it.
I'm not even going to say anything after that. That was perfect. That was perfect. And it's
Thank
so
you.
true. So, so true. Get out there, do the work, guys. Do the work internally to love yourself, accept yourself, approve of yourself. And that's how you're going to make the change. That's how you're going to bring about that space of warmth, space of love. And to that, I think this was a beautiful finish. Thank you, Samir.
No
I
problem.
love
Thank
you,
you.
appreciate you. Thank you
Love
so
you too.
much.
Love you too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And if you guys want us to talk about a topic, please go ahead and text us, share with us in the comments. We'll love to hear from you. Have a beautiful day. Bye,
All right.
everyone.